Hey everyone, so here's a quick sound demo and amp review of the Marshall MG101CFX. Now this is a 100 watt solid state 1x12 inch combo amplifier, and let's get straight into the sound review. There's going to be timestamps throughout, so if you want to skip through, feel free. And at the end, I'll give a quick overview as a short review of the amp. Straight into the sound, here we go. Cool, so let's get into a quick review of this Marshall MG101CFX. Overall, I personally like the sound of it. Let me know what you think. The clean tones are nice, they're crisp, they're bright, and the drive tones are also typical Marshall. If you've played any Marshall MGs in the past, whether it's from your practice 10 or 15 watt right up to 100 watts plus, I think, in my opinion, they all have a pretty similar tone to them. They are essentially the same amplifier, you just got more output. Now, this gives that classic rock tone. I think from the sound test you can hear that it's got a nice clean tone. I don't think it's my favorite clean tones, but I do really like the overdrive tones on a Marshall amp. It gives that classic rock tone. You know, you've got your Slash vibes from that awesome rock tone that we all know and love, and Marshall is an iconic amp, let's be honest. This won't break the bank. A fairly old amp now, from about 15 years or so, 10 to 15 years old, so you could pick one of these up pretty cheap second hand. This is your first good amp. If you're starting to gig, something like this is perfect. If you're worrying about the volume, this is plenty loud enough. I had that cranked up only to about a quarter, and it was echoing throughout that small practice room I was in, and I would have been able to hear that over the drums. And if not, I could just crank it up to half. I wouldn't be personally going above that with this amp. One thing I wasn't too sure about, and this is more of a personal preference, is that range of effects. I guess I'm just not a big effects guy, and I think for most players you would probably have your pedals for your own fine-tune effects. However, that's not to use this as a negative for the amp, because that is fun. And that's one thing I would say about effects, is when you're just jamming, when you're having fun on your own, why not explore through them? You heard that octaver sort of sound that I had. Would I ever use that? Personally, no, but you might. So it's nice to have there. And some of you might have been listening thinking, oh, I'm looking for an amp that has that. And that has it all. I quite like Marshall effects. I actually quite like that I can go for a bit of reverb, a little bit of delay, and a little bit of chorus. You can kind of mix it together and you can build your own lead tone. In fact, I used to do that with a Marshall MG. And when it comes with its foot switch, it's great for playing live. When you do have a foot switch, you don't need your other pedals. So that's one core benefit of this amp, that it does have built-in effects. When you've got a foot switch that links to it, you don't need to go pedal shopping. If you are someone starting out, getting into gigging, this amps perfectly. You might have all of your pedals, therefore you might not need to use a foot switch. You could use them both together, use all the drive from the amp, and then have a switch to toggle on the effects, or you might have your pedal board for your own effects. Overall, I think it's a great amp, more than loud enough. It's affordable. It's got nice clean tones. You might want to tweak these a little bit. And I will just say, I was only recording this through my iPhone, just a quick jam to give an overview of the tone. But yeah, Marshall MG101CFX, 100 watts, more than enough than you'll ever need. I like it. Let me know what you think. Cheers, everyone.